Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration ship UES Horizon and watched the stars move past the viewing screen. The year was 2387 and humans had been part of the Galactic Cooperation Council for almost 200 years. Jake felt proud to work with alien crews as they mapped unknown parts of space together. His crew was the best in the fleet and he trusted them with his life. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Carter walked up to Jake with a data pad in her hands. She had been his second-in-command for 3 years and never let him down. Her brown hair was tied back in a neat bun and her blue eyes showed excitement. Behind her came Chief Engineer Pete Johnson, who always had grease on his uniform, but could fix anything that broke. Dr. Amy Brooks followed them both, and she took care of anyone who got hurt or sick on the ship. Lisa showed Jake the readings on her pad and spoke with a calm voice that barely hid her excitement. The sensors had found something big in the asteroid field ahead of them. It was not natural rock or metal, but something built by intelligent beings long ago. Jake ordered the ship to move closer, and soon they could see a massive structure floating in space. It was made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light and had strange symbols carved into its surface. Pete ran scans of the structure and found that it was still working after who knows how many years. The power readings were off the charts and the technology was unlike anything humans or their alien friends had ever seen. Amy checked for any signs of life but found none. Whatever race built this place was long gone, but they left behind something incredible. Jake led a team inside the structure, and what they found made them all stop and stare. The walls were covered with star maps and technical drawings that showed how to build faster than light engines that were far better than anything the galaxy had now. There were also weapons designs and shield systems that could protect entire planets. This technology could change everything for all the species in the Alliance. Jake sent a message back to Earth and to the Galactic Council about what they had found. He expected the alien representatives to be as excited as he was, but something felt wrong about their responses. The crystalline Vorthak sent back a message that seemed too formal and cold. The insect-like Zephyrians asked strange questions about who else knew about the discovery. The water-dwelling Nelari wanted to know exact coordinates, but said they were just curious. Back on Earth, Admiral Helen Price read the reports from Jake's mission with growing worry. As Earth's representative on the council, she had been noticing odd things lately. The aliens were changing patrol routes without telling humans, and resource shipments were being delayed for no good reason. Some of the alien species were holding private meetings that humans were not invited to join. Helen did not know that the 3 major alien powers had been meeting in secret for months. The Vorthak leader, Crystal Song of War, had convinced the others that humans were becoming too dangerous. Humans learned too fast and adapted too quickly to new situations. They were already as advanced as species that had been in space for thousands of years longer. If this continued, humans might become the dominant power in the galaxy. Zephyrian Hive Queen Zak agreed with the crystal beings. Her insect armies had fought many wars, but humans had shown they could match any fighting force when they needed to. The Nelari Tidespeaker, Flowing Current of Regret, was more careful, but she also feared what humans might do with too much power. The 3 species made a plan that would solve their human problem once and for all. The aliens chose to act during a joint military exercise that was supposed to show cooperation between all the species. Human ships were spread out across 12 different star systems, practicing rescue operations and defensive maneuvers. They were not ready for war because they trusted their alien allies completely. The attack came without warning and hit humans everywhere at once. Vorthak crystal ships fired on human colonies while Zephyrian swarms attacked the outer settlements. Nelari forces cut off all communication networks so humans could not call for help or coordinate their defense. In just 6 hours, the aliens had destroyed or captured most of the human military and civilian outposts. Jake Morrison and his crew were deep in alien space when the attack began. They only learned about it when they tried to send their daily report and got no answer from Earth. Pete managed to pick up broken emergency signals that told them the horrible truth. Humanity had been betrayed by the species they called friends. Analyze.dar Amy Brooks stared at the communication screen with tears in her eyes. The aliens had planned this attack for months while sitting in council meetings and pretending to care about cooperation and peace. Lisa Carter's hands shook with anger as she read the demands for human surrender that were being broadcast across the galaxy. Jake Morrison looked at his crew and saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. The aliens thought they had won by surprising humanity, but they had made a big mistake. They did not understand what humans could do when they were pushed into a corner with no choice but to fight back. The real war was just beginning, and humanity would not be the same species that the aliens had betrayed. They were about to learn what humans could become when they had nothing left to lose. The alien attack hit human settlements like a hammer, but it did not break the human spirit. Colonel Ryan Walsh was in charge of the Mars shipyards when the Vorthic crystal ships appeared in the sky. Their weapons tore through the orbital defense platforms like they were made of paper, but Ryan did not panic. He ordered all workers into the underground shelters and activated the emergency protocols that would save the shipyard computers and blueprints. Ryan watched from the command bunker as alien forces landed on the surface of Mars. The crystal beings moved like living glass, and their weapons could cut through steel like butter. But Ryan had spent 20 years in the military, and he knew that every enemy had weaknesses. He sent small teams of soldiers to hit the aliens from hidden positions and then disappear before they could fight back. Commander Susan Blake was leading the evacuation of the outer colonies when the Zephyrian swarms attacked. The insect ships moved fast and hit hard, but Susan had trained for emergency situations her whole career. She managed to get transport ships loaded with civilians away from 3 different planets before the aliens could stop them. Her own ship took heavy damage, but she stayed behind to make sure every human who could be saved was saved. The aliens expected humans to break down and give up when they lost contact with Earth and their main fleets. They thought cutting off human supplies and communications would make the scattered settlements surrender quickly. But humans had survived ice ages and world wars and nuclear disasters on their home planet. Being cut off from help just made them more determined to fight. Earth's President Daniel Cooper stood in the emergency command center deep under the Rocky Mountains. The surface of Earth was under attack, but the planet's defenses were holding for now. Daniel had been a soldier before he became a politician, and he knew that this was not the time for compromise or negotiation. He activated the emergency broadcast system and sent a message to every human settlement in the galaxy. Daniel's voice was calm and strong as he spoke to his people. He told them that humanity was withdrawing from all galactic treaties and forming the Human Defense Coalition. Any human settlement that could fight back should do so, and any settlement that could not fight should hide and wait for rescue. Most importantly, he made it clear that humanity would never surrender to alien aggression. The message ended with words that would be remembered for generations to come. Humans had never bowed to tyrants among their own species, and they would not start with aliens. Dr. Maria Santos was Earth's best expert on alien biology, and she studied the attack patterns with growing anger. The 3 alien species had coordinated their assault using communication codes and tactical information that humans had shared with them during years of supposed friendship. Every human weakness that the aliens exploited was something that humans had told them about during joint training exercises and cultural exchange programs. Maria realized that the aliens had been planning this betrayal for years while sitting in council meetings and shaking hands with human diplomats. They had studied human psychology and military tactics not to work better together, but to find the best ways to destroy humanity. The discovery filled Maria with cold rage, but also gave her ideas about how to turn the tables on their enemies. Captain Jake Morrison and his crew were trapped deep in alien territory, but they refused to give up. Jake had grown up reading stories about human soldiers who fought behind enemy lines, and he knew that small groups could do big damage if they were smart and brave. His ship was damaged, but Pete Johnson worked miracles with spare parts and alien technology to keep them moving. Jake decided to start hitting alien supply convoys and communication relays. Lisa Carter proved to be an excellent tactical planner, and she figured out how to predict where alien ships would be. Dr. Amy Brooks used her medical knowledge to develop ways to hurt alien biology without killing them immediately. Pete Johnson turned mining equipment into weapons that could punch holes in alien ship hulls. The aliens sent messages demanding that all humans surrender immediately. They promised to spare civilian populations if humans gave up all their military equipment. An accepted alien rule. The alien leaders expected humans to be grateful for this generous offer and shocked when President Cooper sent back a response that was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Cooper's message was short and simple. Humanity had fought against every form of tyranny and oppression on their home planet for thousands of years. They had defeated kings and emperors and dictators who tried to rule them through fear and force. Humans would rather die free than live as slaves, and that applied whether their enemies walked on 2 legs or 4 or floated in crystal shells. The response surprised the alien alliance because they had studied human history and seen how often humans surrendered when faced with superior force. But they had misunderstood what they were seeing. Humans surrendered when they thought their cause was lost or when they believed their enemies would treat them fairly. Neither of those things was true now. The aliens had started a war they could not win because they had turned every human in the galaxy into an enemy with nothing to lose. Ryan Walsh managed to organize the scattered defenders on Mars into an effective resistance force. They could not stop the alien occupation, but they made it cost the crystal beings more than they expected. Susan Blake reached the inner colonies with her refugee ships and started organizing them into a supply network for human fighters. Even civilian engineers and doctors were finding ways to hurt the alien war effort. The aliens began to realize that they had made their first mistake when they saw how quickly humans adapted to being cut off from their normal support systems. Human settlements that should have been helpless were building new weapons and finding new ways to fight back. The species that the aliens thought would collapse without outside help was proving to be stronger when it stood alone. But this was only the beginning of their problems, and they had no idea what humans could really do when they stopped trying to be good neighbors and started trying to win a war. Dr. Kevin Ross had always been curious about how alien technology worked, but now his curiosity had turned into desperate need. The aliens had cut humanity off from their advanced systems and supply networks, so humans had to learn to build better weapons and defenses on their own. Kevin gathered the best engineers and scientists who had escaped the initial attacks and set up a secret research facility in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Working alongside brilliant engineer Carol Mitchell, Kevin started taking apart every piece of alien technology that human forces could capture or steal. Carol had a gift for seeing how complex machines worked just by looking at them, and Kevin could figure out the scientific principles behind any device. Together they discovered that alien technology was actually less advanced than the aliens wanted everyone to believe. The crystal ships of the Vorthek looked impressive, but their power systems were inefficient and their weapons overheated quickly during long battles. The insect swarms of the Zephyrians moved fast, but their individual ships were fragile and easy to damage if you knew where to hit them. The water ships of the Nalari had strong shields but poor maneuverability in open space. Kevin and Carol began designing human weapons that could exploit these weaknesses. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison had managed to reach the ancient alien facility that his crew had discovered before the war started. The massive structure was still floating in the asteroid field where they had found it, and the aliens seemed to have forgotten about it during their attacks on human settlements. Jake brought engineer Tony Rodriguez and physicist Dr. Janet Fields to help unlock the secrets hidden inside. Tony was amazed by the construction methods used to build the facility. The walls and corridors were made from materials that were stronger than anything humans or modern aliens could produce. The power system still worked perfectly after thousands of years and generated more energy than entire human cities used. Janet studied the star maps and technical drawings covering the walls and realized they showed weapons and defenses designed specifically to fight the 3 alien species that had betrayed humanity, the ancient race that built this place had fought the same war against the same enemies long ago. They had learned the weaknesses of crystal beings and insect swarms and water dwellers, and created weapons to exploit those weaknesses. But something had happened to that ancient race, and they had disappeared, leaving only this facility and its knowledge behind. Janet wondered if they had won their war and then left the galaxy, or if they had lost and been destroyed by their enemies, back in human space. The survivors were proving that necessity really was the mother of invention. Captain Lavaston commanded a group of factory ships that had escaped the initial alien attacks. These mobile construction platforms normally built mining equipment and cargo haulers, but Lavra ordered them to start producing warships instead. The new human ships were smaller and faster than the old designs and could be built using materials that were easy to find in asteroid fields. Pete Johnson had been promoted to Chief of Ship Design after his work keeping Jake Morrison's ship running behind enemy lines. Pete took the lessons learned from fighting aliens and incorporated them into every new human vessel. The ships had better armor in the places where alien weapons hit most often and stronger engines for quick escapes when battles went badly. Most importantly, they were designed to be repaired quickly using whatever materials human engineers could find. The aliens started to notice that human raids were becoming more effective and more frequent. Commander Bobby Phillips led a strike force that destroyed a major Vorthax supply depot using tactics that the crystal beings had never seen before. The human ships appeared out of nowhere, hit hard and fast, and disappeared before the alien reinforcements could arrive. Bobby had studied the ancient facility's tactical data and learned how to use asteroid fields and gas clouds to hide his ships from alien sensors. Captain Nancy Brown commanded a squadron of the new fast attack ships, and she proved that human pilots were better than alien ones when it came to improvising during battle. Her ships eliminated an entire Zephyrium patrol fleet by using their superior speed and maneuverability to stay out of range of the insect weapons while picking off enemy ships one by one. The aliens had never faced opponents who could think and adapt as quickly as humans could. Dr. Amy Brooks made discoveries that gave human forces advantages the aliens never expected. She developed medical treatments that let humans survive in environments that would kill crystal beings, insect creatures, and water dwellers. This meant human soldiers could fight in places the aliens considered safe refuges. Amy also figured out how to use alien biology against them by creating weapons that disrupted their natural functions without causing immediate death. The ancient facility became humanity's greatest secret weapon as Tony Rodriguez and Dr. Janet Fields unlocked more of its mysteries. They found blueprints for energy shields that could stop any known alien weapon and plans for engines that could make human ships faster than anything the three hostile species could build. Most amazing of all, they discovered designs for weapons that could disable alien ships without destroying them completely. Carol Mitchell worked with the ancient blueprints to create hybrid technologies that combined human engineering with the lost race's advanced knowledge. The new human weapons were not just copies of ancient designs, but improvements that took advantage of human creativity and the materials available in their current situation. Carol's weapons could adapt to different types of alien armor and shields automatically during battle. Kevin Ross realized that the three alien species had made a critical error in their understanding of human nature. They thought cutting humans off from advanced technology would make them weaker, but instead it forced humans to become more creative and resourceful. Every human engineer and scientist was working around the clock to solve problems that they had never faced before, and they were finding solutions that surprised everyone, including themselves. The aliens began sending diplomatic messages, suggesting that perhaps some kind of agreement could be reached to end the hostilities. But humanity had learned the true nature of their former allies, and President Daniel Cooper rejected every attempt at negotiation. The aliens had started this war by betraying trust and murdering innocents, and they would have to face the consequences of their actions. Humans were no longer the cooperative species that had joined the galactic community with hopes of friendship and mutual benefit. The betrayal had changed them into something harder and more dangerous than their enemies had. ever imagined possible. 18 months after the alien betrayal, humanity was ready to show their former allies what they had learned during their time of suffering. Admiral Stephen Gray had been promoted from captain after proving himself during the defense of the outer colonies, and now he commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. The ships under his command were not the same vessels that the aliens had destroyed so easily during their surprise attack. These were new designs built using ancient technology and human innovation working together. Stephen stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the tactical display showing enemy positions across 12 star systems. The aliens had spread their forces thin, trying to control all the territory they had captured from humanity, but this gave Stephen the opportunity he had been waiting for. Instead of attacking one target at a time, he would hit them everywhere at once and force them to choose which positions they could afford to lose. The human counteroffensive began with strikes on alien supply lines and communication networks. Captain Bobby Phillips led fast attack squadrons that appeared out of hyperspace, destroyed their targets, and vanished before enemy reinforcements could respond. The aliens had grown comfortable during their months of occupation and were not prepared for the speed and precision of the human attacks. Their crystal ships and insect swarms and water vessels tried to chase the human raiders but could never catch them. Admiral Jake Morrison had been given command of the Liberation forces, and his job was to free human colonies that were still under alien control. Jake's ships used the new shield technology from the ancient facility, and alien weapons could barely scratch their hulls. The hybrid human designs were faster and more maneuverable than anything the three species could build, and Jake's pilots had trained specifically to fight against alien tactics and weaknesses. The first major battle of the counteroffensive took place at the mining colony of New Pittsburgh, where the Vorthak had been forcing human prisoners to work in dangerous conditions. Jake's fleet arrived without warning and destroyed the crystal ships guarding the planet in less than 30 minutes. The human ships moved like dancers, avoiding the slow alien weapons and striking with perfect accuracy. The crystal beings had never faced opponents who could anticipate their moves so easily. Captain Lisa Carter commanded her own ship now and led the assault on the Zephyrian-controlled agricultural world of Green Valley. The insect swarms tried to overwhelm her forces with numbers, but Lisa had studied their attack patterns and knew exactly how to counter them. Her ships used the ancient facility's tactical data to predict where the alien formations would be and hit them with weapons designed specifically to disrupt insect coordination systems. The aliens tried to send diplomatic envoys to Earth requesting a ceasefire and negotiations, but President Daniel Cooper refused to meet with them. Secretary of Defense Patricia Lee delivered humanity's response to the alien representatives. There would be no negotiations until every alien military unit withdrew from human territory, and the three species agreed to pay reparations for their unprovoked attacks and war crimes against human civilians. The alien alliance began to show cracks under the pressure of human military success. The Vorthak High Command started questioning whether the war had been a good idea, as their crystal ships were destroyed faster than they could be replaced. The Zephyrian Hive Queens argued among themselves about whether to continue fighting or seek separate peace agreements with humanity. The Nelari Tide Speakers held emergency councils, but could not agree on any course of action that would save their forces from complete defeat. Jake Morrison's Liberation fleet discovered the full extent of alien cruelty when they freed human prisoners from alien facilities. The crystal beings had forced humans to work in their mines without proper protection from radiation and toxic gases. The insect creatures had used human prisoners for medical experiments, trying to understand human biology so they could develop better weapons against them. The water dwellers had kept humans in flooded chambers where many had drowned or died from infections. Dr. Amy Brooks accompanied the Liberation forces and provided medical care for the freed prisoners. What she saw in the alien facilities filled her with cold rage and strengthened her determination to make sure the three species paid for their crimes. Amy documented every atrocity and every example of deliberate cruelty, so that the galaxy would know what the supposed civilized species had done to humans who trusted them as friends and allies. Engineer Tony Rodriguez had solved the final puzzle of the ancient facility's weapons technology and developed devices that could disable alien ships without destroying them completely. This allowed human forces to capture intact vessels and study their technology for weaknesses. More importantly, it meant that human fleets could eliminate enemy resistance while taking minimal damage themselves. The captured ships also provided evidence of alien war crimes and proved that the three species had been planning the betrayal for years. The tide of war turned so completely that alien forces began retreating from human territory without even attempting to fight. Commander Susan Blake led pursuit operations that prevented the aliens from regrouping or establishing new defensive positions. Her ships used their superior speed to stay ahead of retreating enemy fleets and attack them when they tried to stop. And rest or refuel. Carol Mitchell's weapons proved their worth in battle. After battle, as human forces advanced deeper into formerly alien-controlled space, the hybrid technology could adapt to different types of shields and armor. Automatically, and alien defenses that had seemed impregnable were destroyed with ease. Carol watched the test results from actual combat and continued to improve her designs. Based on what human pilots reported from the fighting, Dr. Kevin Ross analyzed captured alien technology and realized that the three species had not advanced significantly in thousands of years. They had become comfortable with their dominance and stopped innovating or improving their military capabilities. This explained why the ancient race's weapons were still effective against them and why human creativity had been able to surpass alien technology in just 18 months of desperate research and development. The Alien Alliance made one last attempt to negotiate by offering to return to the old borders and resume peaceful relations as if nothing had happened. Admiral Stephen Gray delivered humanity's response by attacking the main Vortex shipyard and destroying it completely. The message was clear to anyone in the galaxy who was watching. Humanity would accept nothing less than total victory and complete alien surrender. The three species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were learning what it meant to face opponents who refused to give up or compromise. They had awakened something in humanity that they did not understand and could not defeat. The cooperative species that had joined the galactic community with hopes of friendship was gone forever, and in its place stood a military power that seemed to grow stronger with every battle. The aliens were beginning to realize that their betrayal had created the very threat they had tried to eliminate, but it was already too late to undo what they had done. The three alien species that had once ruled the galaxy now faced complete military collapse, and they knew it. Crystal Song of War, the leader of the Vortex, stood in the command center of their home world and watched reports of defeat after defeat scroll across the screens. Human ships appeared wherever they wanted and destroyed alien forces with weapons that seemed to ignore crystal shields and armor. The crystal beings had lost more ships in the past 6 months than they had built in the previous 50 years. Crystal Song of War ordered their scientists to develop new weapons that could match human technology, but the Vorthak had grown too comfortable with their old ways. Their rigid thinking could not adapt to the rapid changes in warfare that humans had brought to the galaxy. Every new crystal design was countered by human innovations before it could be mass-produced. The crystal beings were learning that military superiority required constant improvement and creativity, not just superior numbers and traditional tactics. Zephyrian Hive Queen Zakth faced an even worse situation as her insect swarms were destroyed faster than they could reproduce. The human ships moved in patterns that confused the collective intelligence of the swarms and used weapons that disrupted the neural links between individual insects. Zakth ordered increasingly brutal attacks on human civilian targets, hoping to force a surrender through terror, but this strategy backfired completely. Captain Pete Johnson led rescue operations that saved thousands of human civilians from Zephyrian prison camps. Every rescue mission revealed new evidence of alien atrocities and strengthened human determination to fight until the insect species was completely defeated. Pete's ships were equipped with the latest hybrid technology and could defeat entire Zephyrian squadrons without taking significant damage. The insects that had once seemed so numerous and dangerous were being swept aside like an annoying swarm of flies, the Nilari tide. Speaker Flowing Current of Regret was the first alien leader to understand the true scope of their mistake. She had initially supported the war against humanity, but now she watched her waterships being destroyed by weapons they could not even detect until it was too late. Flowing Current of Regret tried to convince the other Nilari leaders to seek a separate peace with humanity, but they refused to listen to her warnings about the consequences of continuing the war. Dr. Maria Santos had developed psychological warfare tactics based on her deep understanding of alien psychology and culture. Human broadcasts now reached alien civilian populations and told them the truth about the war and the massive casualties their leaders had caused through unprovoked aggression. The broadcasts showed evidence of alien war crimes and explained how the three species had betrayed humanity's trust after centuries of supposed friendship and cooperation. The alien civilian populations began to question their leaders for the first time in thousands of years. Crystal beings who had never doubted their superiority started asking why their fleets were losing battles against a supposedly inferior species. Insect workers began ignoring orders from their queens as the collective intelligence networks broke down under stress. Water dwellers held public protests demanding an end to the war that was destroying their military forces and threatening their entire civilization. Admiral Jake Morrison's forces had achieved complete space superiority in all the contested regions, and now operated with total freedom throughout former alien territory. The ancient technology had allowed humanity to construct vessels that could engage multiple alien ships simultaneously and emerge victorious every time. Jake's fleet had become a mobile force of destruction that appeared wherever alien resistance was strongest and eliminated it with methodical precision. The hybrid weapons developed by Carol Mitchell and Kevin Ross had evolved far beyond anything the ancient race had imagined. Human creativity and alien technology working together had produced devices that could adapt to any defensive system the three species could develop. The weapons learned from each battle and became more effective against alien armor and shields. With every engagement, the aliens realized they were fighting opponents whose technology improved faster than they could counter it. Tony Rodriguez had unlocked all the secrets of the ancient facility and discovered records that explained what had happened to the race that built it. They had not been destroyed by the three alien species, but had instead chosen to leave the galaxy after defeating their enemies completely. The ancient race had become so powerful that they no longer needed to fight for resources or territory, and had departed to explore other galaxies where they might find worthy challenges. The discovery filled human leaders with both hope and determination. If the ancient race could defeat the three alien species completely, then humanity could do the same thing using improved versions of their technology. The knowledge that others had faced these same enemies and one gave humans confidence that their cause was just and their victory was inevitable. Engineer Pete Johnson developed new ship designs that incorporated lessons learned from captured alien vessels and ancient blueprints. The latest human ships were not just superior to alien designs, but were so advanced that they seemed almost magical to observers. These vessels could travel faster than light in ways that alien science said was impossible and carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets from distances that should have been safe. The Alien Alliance made desperate attempts to coordinate their remaining forces, but human intelligence networks had infiltrated their communications systems. Dr. Amy Brooks had developed ways to decode alien messages and predict their movements days or weeks before they happened. Human commanders knew where alien forces would be and what they planned to do before the aliens themselves had finished making their decisions. Captain Lisa Carter led deep strike missions into the heart of alien territory and destroyed military facilities that the three species had considered completely safe. Her ships appeared in systems that should have been impossible to reach and eliminated targets that were supposedly protected by impregnable defenses. The aliens realized that nowhere in their territory was safe from human attack and that their old concepts of strategic defense were Useless against this new enemy, the three species tried one final desperate strategy by combining their remaining fleets into a single massive force that would either destroy humanity or die in the attempt. But human intelligence detected the plan, and Admiral Stephen Gray prepared a response that would end the war once and for all. The aliens were gathering their forces for what they hoped would be a decisive battle, but they had no idea what kind of trap they were walking into. The final phase of the war was beginning, and humanity held all the advantages while their enemies had nothing left but desperation and the bitter knowledge that their own betrayal had created the force that was about to destroy them. The galaxy was about to witness the complete defeat of species that had considered themselves the masters of civilization for thousands of years. In trying to eliminate humanity as a threat, the aliens had guaranteed their own downfall and created a new galactic order that would be dominated by the very species they had tried to destroy. The final battle never came because the three alien species realized they could not win and chose surrender over extinction. Crystal Song of War was the first to send an unconditional surrender message to Admiral Stephen Gray as Vorthic Crystal. Ships began shutting down their weapons and broadcasting surrender codes. Zephyrion Hive Queen Zacht followed within hours as her remaining swarm stopped fighting and clustered together in defensive formations that clearly showed they would not attack again. Nilari Tidespeaker, Flowing Current of Regret, had been trying to surrender for weeks, but her fellow leaders had refused to listen to her warnings. When she finally overruled them and sent her own surrender message, she included a personal apology for the betrayal and a promise that the water dwellers would accept any punishment humanity deemed appropriate. The war that had lasted 2 years and changed the galaxy forever was ending not with a massive battle, but with complete alien capitulation. President Daniel Cooper stood before the newly formed Human Galactic Assembly and announced the terms that the three species would have to accept. There would be no negotiation and no compromise because the aliens had proven they could not be trusted to keep their word. The surrender would be unconditional, and the alien leaders who had planned the betrayal would be handed over to human authorities for trial as war criminals. The reparations demanded by humanity were massive and would take the three species generations to pay. They would rebuild every human colony they had destroyed and compensate the families of every human who had died because of their betrayal. More importantly, they would provide the resources and labor needed for continued human expansion throughout the galaxy. The aliens who had tried to limit human power would now be forced to help humanity become the dominant galactic civilization. Admiral Jake Morrison was promoted to Grand Admiral of the Human Space Forces and given the task of establishing human bases throughout former alien territory. The galaxy had changed completely and would never be the same again. Where once three alien species had dictated terms to younger civilizations, humanity now set the rules and enforced them with military power that no one could challenge. The trials of alien war criminals began on Earth and were broadcast to every civilized world in the galaxy. Crystal Song of War faced human judges and heard detailed testimony about the atrocities committed by Vorthic forces against human prisoners. Zephyrion Hive Queen Zacht was confronted with evidence of medical experiments performed on human civilians, including children who had died in agony during alien research into human biology. Flowing Current of Regret was the only alien leader who showed genuine remorse for what her species had done. She testified about the secret meetings, where the three species had planned their betrayal and provided evidence of how they had spied on humanity for years while pretending to be friends and allies. Her cooperation earned her a lighter sentence but could not undo the damage that had been done to relations between humans and all alien species. Dr. Kevin Ross led efforts to share human technological advances with other species that had remained neutral during the war or had secretly provided aid to human refugees. This created a new galactic order based on merit and mutual respect rather than age and established power. Species that proved themselves worthy of trust would be treated as equals, while those that chose aggression would face the same fate as the three defeated alien races. Captain Pete Johnson established shipyards throughout human space that produced vessels incorporating the best of human engineering and ancient alien technology. The new human fleet was larger and more powerful than any military force the galaxy had ever seen. Other species looked at human ships and knew that challenging humanity would be suicide. The balance of power had shifted permanently in favor of the species that had been betrayed and left for dead. Dr. Amy Brooks opened medical facilities on every world where humans had been imprisoned or experimented on by alien forces. She worked to heal the physical and psychological damage done to human prisoners while also studying alien biology to develop better treatments for both humans and other species. Amy's research proved that cooperation could produce benefits for everyone when it was based on genuine trust rather than fear and deception. The ancient facility became a monument to human determination and the consequences of betrayal. Tony Rodriguez established a research center there where the best scientists from Earth and allied species worked together to unlock more secrets of the vanished race. The facility served as a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations could fall if they chose aggression over cooperation and that new powers could rise to take their place. Carol Mitchell's weapons factories produced defensive systems that were shared with species that had proven their friendship to humanity. The new galactic order was not based on human dominance through fear, but on human leadership through strength and generosity. Species that treated humanity with respect found themselves protected and supported, while those that harbored hostile intentions faced swift and overwhelming retaliation. The three defeated alien species were forced to live with the knowledge that their betrayal had created the very outcome they had tried to prevent. In attempting to eliminate humanity as a threat, they had guaranteed that humans would become the galaxy's apex civilization. Their children would grow up in a universe where human ships patrolled the trade routes and human laws governed interstellar relations. President Daniel Cooper's final speech as leader of Earth was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. He explained that humanity had not sought dominance or empire, but had been forced into leadership by the betrayal of those they had trusted. The new human government would protect the innocent and punish the guilty, regardless of species or planet of origin. Justice would be the foundation of the new galactic order, not the arbitrary rule of whoever had the biggest military. The galaxy that emerged from the war was fundamentally different from the one that had existed before the alien betrayal. Humanity stood at the center of a new civilization that valued innovation and cooperation while maintaining the strength needed to defend against future threats. The species that had ruled for thousands of years now served as examples of what happened to those who chose treachery over honor. The final scene of this transformation took place in the War Crimes Tribunal, where the three alien leaders heard their sentences. Crystal Song of War received life imprisonment for ordering attacks on civilian targets. Zephyrian Hive Queen Exaith was sentenced to death for conducting medical experiments on human prisoners. Flowing Current of Regret received a reduced sentence of 50 years in prison for her cooperation with human authorities. As the sentences were read, the alien leaders faced the bitter truth that their actions had consequences they never imagined. In betraying humanity, they had not only doomed their own species to secondary status, but had also created a galactic power that would ensure such betrayals could never happen again. The humans they had tried to destroy now stood as judges over their fate and the fate of every species in the galaxy. Their betrayal had changed everything forever, and there was no going back to the way things used to be.